Then science came along and taught us that we are not the measure of all things, that there are wonders unimagined, that the universe is not obliged to conform to what was considered comfortable or plausible.
Then, over millions of years, evolution took its course. Of course, I'm obligated by the state of Kansas to present the church's alternative to the theory of evolution.
Touch it.
What? You touch it.
You afraid?
No, touch it.
You totally didn't touch it.
Well, then you touch it.
Good morning, beauties and bees. We are live from the hive. And why is that pointing up so high? Jesus. It didn't look that high before. You all can't see my cute top. This is like it's like a peasant top. Look at it. It's so cute. I love it. We are live from the hive. It's Saturday morning, 9:30 Central Standard Time. Hello, everybody. Actually, it's 9:39 now because I was letting everybody get in their good mornings and everything. Hello. Yes, we did hit the 1K. It dropped back down. It does the algorithm balance thing. If somebody wants to drop a sub though from one of their stock accounts, or go out and make a fresh account, just so I don't have to do this whole stream with it being at 999, because I would rather do the whole stream with it being at 1K, so I don't seem like an idiot up here celebrating my 1K without 1K actually being on the screen. If anybody wants to do that for me, I love you. So we did hit it. We hit the 1K, and my eyes are all watery from sinus stuff this morning, so it's making my makeup drip. So I'm so sorry if I look like a wreck. I tried, but thank you everybody for coming in here. 16 people already waiting to what Gary Priestley said, #bring on the brie. Love you too, Gary. Well, welcome everybody to Live from the Hive. We did hit 1,000 subscribers last week, so that is a big point of celebration for the Hive. I appreciate each and every one of you who subscribed, everybody who shared the channel. Obviously, people who donated, because the other thing going on right now is we're right in the midst of receiving our first annual bug drive delivery. We have received so far from Pantera Pets yesterday. We got all our baby mantises. They're not quite big enough for Mike mantises yet, but they're They're in there. Look how tiny that little guy is. That's the giant Asian mantises. Now, the ghosties came in a little bit bigger. The ghosties, oh, the camera's over here. The ghosties a little bit bigger than the giant mantises. But that dynamic will flip flop as they grow. But yes, so we got those. We got the desert beetles from Bugs in Cyberspace. Love you, Peter. Thank you. Everything arrived great. Got 5 blue death feeding beetles, and then some regular assorted. He calls it the beetle sampler pack. They're just an assortment of different beetles. We got a new baby tarantula, like little tiny baby, way smaller than I expected. But we're gonna raise it up to see what we can get out of it. I don't have a lot of luck with slings this small. I've only been successful with just a couple, but we're gonna see what I can do. We're gonna see what Bree can manage on that. And we got the question mark roaches, but they're also so tiny you can't even see them. They're so tiny. They're little bitty guys. So we're gonna see if we can't raise them up as well. We got some millipedes. The superstar of the order was this giant Florida Keys centipede that was pretty feisty, and I put it in its new home and it dove right underground. I haven't seen it since, but it was a beautiful large specimen. So if we need to talk about centipedes versus millipedes, I am absolutely ready for it, because I have millipedes and centipedes again in the hive, and mantises in the hive. Whew. And next week, we're expecting to get our delivery from Bug Hub, which is a new carrier that we ordered from. So that will be coming next week. It should have our scorpion. The hive's been scorpionless for way too long. We had our desert hairy scorpion in the hive for like 7 years. Poor thing. I lost a lot of my little friends that I had raised from tiny babies during all this transition and stuff. So I'm recovering from that, and your help doing the bug drive. And just so you know, the buy me a coffee thing, that's still open. That link's still down below there. If you want to, we're always going to be buying new bugs. Always be buying new bugs. We're moving into the season where we're going to actually be going out and doing just some wild observation, maybe some wild collecting, depending on the species. So keep your eye out for that this summer too. Last summer I was, still in my cocoon, coming this beautiful lady. So you may have, we missed out last summer. We lost the whole summer, but yeah, becoming this lady has taken all my energy. I hope that it worked, because I feel like a woman now. Look at me. Fucking look at me. All right, so I will be doing a 1K celebration thing tomorrow. So it'll probably be in the morning still, but it's probably going to be later than Life in the Hive. I'm thinking like 11:30, something like that. We'll start celebrating. Sinus stuff is what's going on with me, but that means that the trees are budding. I can see the trees are outside my windows have buds on them. So spring is on the way, and pretty soon we'll be collecting bugs. Next week we have our jumping spider. We were hoping Matt Powell would show up to celebrate. Well, it's not too late. He could show up anytime between today's stream. If Matt Powell shows up right now, I'll let him in. But between today's stream and tomorrow's stream, he can come in. I'm perfectly fine with that. There's the cupcake I love, though. Critical Cupcake. It's been a minute. Hope you are well, my love. It's my friend Amber, who is having some ups and downs. So send her some love, too. And if you don't know her channel, she's... oh, yeah, I got the command here. She's had a quiz show. We don't do it so much anymore. We do it on special occasions time and time again, but we used to do it weekly, or more than weekly. I miss it, but we all got our own stuff that we're dealing with, including me. Like I said, I lost a whole year of my life in this transition, and that's fine. That's a sacrifice. I was like, yes, I'm gonna have to make the sacrifice. So come out on the other side looking like this, though. Being who I finally am, who I've always been inside. Anyway, We will eventually, hopefully. Yeah, we should just do a special sometimes, just whatever handful of the old crew we can comb together. Welcome back. Resist the idiocracy. Good to see you returning too. All right, so I'm rambling all the way into the first few minutes of Cryptic Corner. So since this was the 1,000 subs thing, I was going to the Cryptic Corner is going to be more chill this morning. It's going to be more chill, more fun, and more interactive for you guys. There's going to be lots of polls. There is going to be a lot of audience participation. So I hope you're here for it this morning, because this is what I want to do for the 1,000 sub Live from the Hive special. It's just, we're going to do the same stuff we do for Live from the Hive. It's going to be more interactive. It's going to be more engaging. And all the stuff I have on the well, except for the paleo peak I have at the end for you, but and there may be some more stuff added onto that too if I can find the link. Yeah, so let's dive right into Cryptic Corner just to get things started. Welcome to Cryptic Corner, everybody. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us tonight. I am so thrilled to see you all here. And obviously, you're joining us with our Live from the Hive swarm out here, watching this live on Saturday morning. Thank you, too, for joining us today. This is Cryptic Corner, where we take a look at the unexplained and mysterious side of the internet, where we explore concepts of forbidden knowledge, of cryptozoology, of psychic phenomena, of ghostly encounters, of alien invasions. So please make yourself comfortable as we explore deeper into that today. And it's a special episode on Live from the Hive right now, because this is the weekend that we hit our 1,000 subscribers. The channel is monetized. So I wanted to make sure to squeeze these guys in so that they were on the recording. I wanted to thank my super chats for today so far. Got a super chat from Godless Scummer, $2. You will always be the one who popped my cherry, Jeff. That's a bond we'll just take to the grave with us. Which is what he said. Let me pop that super chat cherry. Then we had from Never Again Sandy, one of my bestest friends in the whole world. We're monetized. And dag nabbit, where are the memberships? I'm working on it. So, excuse me. There's a couple of things that I was looking over the contract. I'm tedious like that, and I am sorry, but I just do. I actually look at the fine print and things like that, so I know what I'm getting myself into with these. So please be understanding on that. And I wanted to also thank Native Atheist. Dang it, I wanted to pop that cherry. Native Atheist, there's more than one way to pop a cherry. You just have to be innovative. Come up with something new and exciting to pop my cherry on. We can have that special connection too. All right, that's all the super chats. I just wanted to get those in, and I wanted to make sure they got on CryptoCorner so that they were recorded, so you get double exposure for your contribution to the Hive. So this will be on Live from the Hive and CryptoCorner. Those are my first 3 super chats. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all of your support. All right, so some of you all probably don't remember. Anybody who doesn't remember or who didn't come into the scene when I was doing the channel under the name Brainbug, before HiveScience became the standard, there was a episode that I did that I really enjoyed, where we looked at haunted dolls on eBay. It was really entertaining and engaging for me, and I think the audience enjoyed it too. So, but dolls aren't the only haunted items that you can find on eBay. I just want to make that clear. The range of items that you can buy that are cursed, haunted, or somehow otherworldly or bewitched that you can purchase or make a bid on eBay is absolutely phenomenal. It's wild, really. Look at this. Hold on, let me get this a little bigger. I don't think it needs to be quite that small. There we go. Does that look better, guys? Let's do it that way. And that way everybody can see what we're looking at. All right. I'm going to lock that in place and lock it. Okay, locked in. Is it jacking with the chat, though? A little bit. I think it's just that one ad, though, right? Yeah, it's just that one ad. All right, so here we go. So there's a whole metaphysical section in eBay. I don't know if anybody else knew about this. eBay is kind of, so first of all, if anybody doesn't know what eBay is, that'd be weird that you don't know what eBay is, but that's okay because it's 2023. eBay is not as forefront as it used to be. eBay was from Internet 1.0. When I say Internet 1.0, it's basically before Internet before social media really exploded. eBay was a early marketplace platform for the internet. Kind of laid the groundwork for things like Amazon. The difference between eBay and something like Amazon is like a retailer, right? You know, there are private sellers on there too, but by and large, it's a retailer or marketing for retailers. Whereas eBay was like it's like the flea market version. If Amazon is Walmart, eBay is a flea market, right? So think about this as like walking through a flea market. And yeah, we can definitely look into haunted Furbies. I'm here for it. We're going to go into it. Don't worry. So yeah, let's just start by a quick browse through the metaphysical section because we have a haunted sword here. Don't worry, we're going to talk about the haunted sword. That's going to be something we go into because it's marked down to $162.95. Come on, guys. We could fund that. Obviously, we got haunted dolls that come into play. Generally, haunted dolls don't sell for more than $100, but some of this paranormal stuff or allegedly paranormal stuff sells for quite a bit, so keep that in mind. But we're going to look at these listings. Obviously, there's going to be ghost hunting equipment as well, because if you're purchasing a haunted doll, you want to make sure that you can verify that your order arrived haunted as described. So you order your haunted doll or your haunted mirror or haunted mask or whatever it is, and you need an EMF detector. Digital dowsing. Let's look at this. It's a mint condition, extremely rare. It is pre-owned, but it's only $449. Let's look at this sweet little dowsing device. So we're gonna be, if we're gonna be ordering, haunted stuff or alien stuff or whatever, there's gonna be some EMF involved. Definitely, right? Oh goodness. Okay, so what do we got here? Let's read a little bit about it. First we're gonna look it over though. Oh, quick and large. There we go. All right. So it's got some nice little LED lights. Looks kind of vintage, like they said, extremely rare, I guess, for entertainment purposes only. That's always important. They got to put this on these things before they can sell them. Let's see here. Runs off batteries. Is there any way to read this larger? No. We didn't want to make another EMF meter. There are already hundreds. Yeah, I'm not going to read that. That's so tiny print. Sorry, guys. If you wanted me to read that, I apologize. I'm not straight in my eyes to read that. I expected it to be bigger. Yeah, but yeah, that's the pictures. Are there any reviews? That's always what I'm interested in seeing. Seller feedback. Here we go. 100% positive feedback. Yeah, this doesn't seem like the kind of person you want to mess with, I guess. You can't fight this feeling. Let's have a look. They just sell EMF meters. And a carrier edge Tudor smart thermostat. Huh. Yeah, that's a niche if they're, I guess. All right, so it says awesome seller, extremely nice and super fast shipping. Okay? Yeah, these are just. Thank you for the awesome rare ghost box. Loved it. Yeah, so they have ghost boxes too. All right, so that was the EMF meter. Let's see what else they got though. Let's see. Hippie flower pendant, witch amulet. So yeah, there's lots of Wiccan stuff in here too, just to make sure you're aware. You can also get a baboon skull. I think this is a real baboon skull because it says taxidermy here. Active spirits, haunted, possessed. $300 for a baboon skull. I wonder if that's close to what they run for on Bone Clone. Another haunted doll. This one's haunted by a succubus. Oh yeah, look at that. Strawberry shortcake looking succubus. Haunted exorcism box. Trapped and sealed demon. Debut box. Yeah, debut boxes is something, was a category that we're actually going to look at as well. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what those are. Of course, you get haunted masks. This is just to get people to do spells for you, I think. Cash Enforcer. I think that's what this is. Let me see. Or is it this little skull? Is this the dude that's for sale? And the rest that's just a backdrop? Wealth Lord. Sorry, like I said, allergies, drainage. I always got something going on though. Make my voice go in and out. So I appreciate everybody who sticks in here with me. We got, let's see, more dolls. Can't get enough of the haunted dolls. Haunted, lovable dolls interact with one another. Boy is available, girl is sold. Why would you even... Okay, so there's a pair of haunted dolls, right? And you're like, their main selling feature is that they interact with one another. But you only buy one of them. Sorry. Like what? All right. I gotta explore that. I know that I said there's more than just haunted dolls here, but first let's look at these. So pretty basic. I don't know why when they're sitting up their eyes are closed. Usually these type of dolls when they lay down their eyelids closed. When they sit up their eyelids open. And does the pony come with it? Because that might be a selling point. Is there a video? Sweet.
Why do you seem so scared? All I wanted to do was play with you.
Hmm. What is... What are they supposed to be doing? I will tell you naughty things. What? Where did that come from? What? What is going on here? They're actually saying these things. It seems like they're doing effects on the video. Are they trying to tell me that this is actually something that happens? Holy crud, Sir Miss Edmonds. Wow. Oh my gosh, Cernus just gave us a $50 super chat. Oh my god, I love you, Cernus. Thank you so much. Yeah, this was just edited over. Because their movement wasn't making that robotic noise. So we're doing kind of like the EVP thing. Well, good effort, I guess, on editing. I would have been more subtle with it. In the drama music. The boy Lovabella is available right now. The girl Lovabella is sold. If you watch the video, you'll discover it's unbelievably crazy, insane interaction between two Lovabella dolls. It appears to become competitive. It will give you the impression that the girl Lovabella becomes jealous and the boy Lovabella becomes threatening. They are both haunted, as you will find out after watching the video below. Is this the same video? Let's key it in because it's my stomping ground. It's YouTube, so we'll key it in. Yep, same video. So, yeah. And details from the seller rating. I cannot believe I just got a $50 super chat. What do you want? Do you what do you want, Cernus? You want me to dance? I'll dance for you. Oh my gosh, I appreciate that so much. Furbies do this too. Furbies do this thing. This is why I had the Furby intro, because I was going to come out here and we'll look at Furbies and stuff. But yeah, I had some choice stuff picked out. So there's this category of these, which are just crystals carved in the shape of alien heads. Isn't that wild? $319 for that. I mean, it's cool looking. It's cool as heck. Yeah, look at that. I don't disagree that that's pretty freaking awesome looking. I wouldn't mind having one, but I wouldn't pay that much for it. I mean, that's... Look, it even has like a... Is that where their ears are supposed to be? In the back of the head? No, because there's no ear on that side. So it's got a hole in it. I want a discount. Since this one has an imperfection, can I get it for 10% of the cost? I'll pay you $39 for this. $39. Going once. Ooh, there's some discoloration on the bottom side too. It's been polished, of course. Kind of want to see how those eyes are set in there. Is that glue or are they soldered in there? I mean, what's the adhesive used to hold these in place? That's going to be important too. Does it say? Look at that one. That one's got like orange eyes. There's a little statue of one too. 4.3-inch bamboo leaf agate carved crystal female alien skull. It's labradorite. Yeah, 4 inches, so it's pretty big. It's like a apple sized. It's not. Crystal skulls have been revered around the world. We've done crystal skulls into the ground, sweetie. Carved from minerals, the very bones of our planet. Crystal skulls combine the beauty of nature with the art and craftsmanship of man. So I'm glad this person at least is acknowledging that crystal skulls are a product of human production. So, yeah, let's see. I want to feed him. Oh, trying to get caught up with the chat because I was so shell-shocked from the generous donation from Sturdiness. And I don't know what the situation is with the channel memberships. I will hopefully get that figured out by tomorrow's big stream, but at least we're debuting the super chats today. So yeah, super chats, and I guess time frames are going to be important now because there's going to be like super chats for Cryptic Corner are going to have to be dealt with before Cryptic Corner is over, etc. So I'll try to come up with some kind of time scale for that, but generally Cryptic Corner runs a bit longer than the other segments. Cryptic Corner, usually the target for Cryptic Corner and CreationWatch is 45 minutes because it just is a nice, concise editing time, and they tend to, if anything, run over that a little bit towards an hour, but so between 45 minutes and an hour. But Cryptic Corner does go over quite a bit, over that hour mark. So there's not really real set time for me to get to the questions, but as we wrap up the subject, we will try to answer all questions and such. So hang in there with me. The next thing I did was after looking up, I looked up aliens, and this is what I got. I got just a ton of these hand-carved or machine-carved, machine crystal skulls. I would not actually, I shouldn't say I wouldn't mind. I would actually love to have something like this. I would love it. I would love it so much. That's super cheap too. But I don't even have an eBay account really. I haven't used eBay in years, so I would love to have like a crystal skull. That one's 2 inches. If I did get one, though, if I did get a crystal skull, I would want a crystal one. I wouldn't want like one that's like an agate or something that's not translucent. I'd want it to be semi-translucent, like a traditional crystal skull. I wouldn't want like one of these. I would want like the one I just clicked on. This one might be all right. 4.1 inches. Why do they keep saying they're female? How are they female? What would it look like if it was male? I guess that one's not translucent. My bad. Kind of looked like it in the other picture. Ooh, that one's super cool. The black obsidian one. Guess I need to. That one's cheap as well. Look at that. It doesn't have a chain on it though. I want a chain. I want a chain so I can wear it like a pendant. I want to wear it to work and stuff. People think I'm a weirdo. I'm super into aliens. I got my alien earrings, but they aren't crystal skulls or anything. They're just regular old gray aliens. You all know what kind of stuff I'm into. I'm a big weirdie. That one's cool looking. Crazy lace agate. And it's got a pendant. Ooh. Did you see that one? That's weird looking. Look at that. That's just a skull, but it's like a geode. That's super wicked. I get why that's craftsmanship right there. I get why that one's almost $2,000 for. Look at that. That's freaking amazing. What a piece of art. Yeah. Stop distracting me, though. It's not a real Mayan skull. Or they're not trying to pitch this as like a authentic. No. No, come on. No, that's the same seller. So no, they're not trying to. I think all these are the same seller. Look at that. It's got a spinal column too. Rose quartz. That's pretty. Jupiter looking. Yeah. Zebra agate. Look at the third eye. Some Mayan alien energy vortex earrings. Let's see here. I'm not going to dwell on aliens too long. Just long enough. How is this thing metaphysical? It's just an alien stoner incense burner. Ooh, I like the eyes on this one better though. They're more to scale. Ooh, that's super pretty. Gaia stone. Star bean, ET alien. Balances your chakras. Have you guys had your chakras checked? When you get to be my age, it's important to have your chakras checked at least once every year. So we're going to start our polls right now. So you're going to go ahead and I'm serious. If you've ever had like anybody try to do any of this energy work and stuff on you, let me know. Because I'm kind of interested in the results. I think that most of it is probably largely like psychosomatic. But I'm always interested in knowing that. And, we're going to do an episode soon on tarot stuff. Actually, I know somebody who does tarot like professionally that I'm wanting to see if I can't get on for like an episode of What's the Buzz to talk to about it and see how they feel about it. A Nephilim alien power matrix prosperity third eye wealthy onyx. If this thing was so wealthy, why is it only selling for $99.77? If it's wealthy, you should be able to sell it for much more than that. Ooh, 4-inch quartz crystal. Yeah, but that's, you can see what you get. This is just looking at the metaphysical section of eBay and searching the word alien. So I did that with a few different things. I even did it with taxidermy. That's how I know that's how I originally found this baboon skull. But apparently taxidermy stuff is used a lot in like spells and potions. So, or they sell this stuff as taxidermy because if it's animal parts, that's the rule, I guess. Did I see my girl Maya out there? I was going to ask her something about this, but never mind. Yes, I did. Hello, Maya. Lost track of all my tarot friends during the pandemic. Yeah, I was going to ask if I do have a person could come on that does like tarot and stuff. I was going to see if you wanted to be on too. But yeah, that's just something that may happen in the future. But they got snake skins and things like that on here. Ooh, look at that. They got a woodland fairy that they made from taxidermy. Yeah, we looked at stuff that was like that was that last week or the week before? I don't know, St. Patrick's Day episode. So that was last week. Yeah, last week, March of the Fairies. Absolutely. So that's the kind of stuff. If you want to see that kind of stuff, that's what we covered. But yeah, that's taxidermy. Not much here. I was just kind of curious as what kind of animal parts and stuff, like skulls, things like that. Here's the haunted sword that we looked at earlier. Haunted last rites ritual sword, no doll. Phantoms follow poltergeist activity. Nothing like a poltergeist sword to energize your household. If things are boring around the house or just in your love life, having a haunted sword around the house that causes poltergeist activity is a way to exponentially stimulate your love life, right? It'll bring you closer together. It'll bring you closer together as human beings. Yes, I thought I saw Maya earlier, is why I said that. Curses are the only thing I subscribe to because I've put a curse on someone before and it worked. Don't fuck with a Romani curse. I thought the Romani had an I on the end. Am I wrong? Have I been spelling it wrong all this time? Please, Tsunami Mommy, tell me I haven't been embarrassing myself talking about this or writing this. Let's get a couple angles on this sword, though. It looks like just your typical decorative sword, but maybe it's not. It's Last Rites ritual sword. I guess that's the hilt. And that's not the hilt, that's the, what do they call it? The scabbard. What's the arrow pointing to here? Just a shadow? That's your shadow, you taking the picture, my dude. Haunted ritual sword used for sacrifices, darker entities, entity attached. If you have come here seeking items of paranormal and occultism, then you have stopped at the right place. Please read full description, disclaimer, id quo. This is for entertainment purposes only. There's no guarantee of paranormal activity that may or may not occur. Warning, we are not responsible for any paranormal activity. This is not intended for children. The vessels are indeed haunted, and most are quite active. The vessels have been known to move around, make noise, or sing, and even communicate on their own. I want a singing sword. Does this sword sing? Can we ask questions? I'm going to see if we can ask questions. I'm going to ask questions about the sword. Does it sing? No warranty. Our inventory is purchased from various different manufacturers, retailers, and third-party sources. Okay. Shipping, blah, blah, blah. Where can I ask questions at? There should just be like a box where you can just type in questions, right? Is that a thing that there is on eBay? I mean, I know. Very nice. Sports coat. First time ordering. Seller fast. Okay, I need to know if the sword sings. I don't want to have to contact the seller intimately. I want to put it publicly where everybody can see it. Send on our feet out. Like they should have a because on like Amazon and most seller stores these days, they have an option where people can ask questions and other people who have purchased from the seller or who are familiar with the seller can answer, or the seller can answer like publicly. And I want to know if the sword sings, because there is mention of singing here, and that might change. Yeah. Make noises or sing, and that might change the way I feel about this sword. So if this sword sings, the next question obviously is going to be, what does it sing? But so 79% of people have had their chakras checked. We'll get back to that in just a second. What does it sing? Could I teach it to sing? Is it programmable to sing? Like, could I make it so it just like sings like bardcore stuff? That'd be pretty cool. Like a bardcore poltergeist sword that floats around your house, just playing like Poker Face by Poker Face in 8 bits, or not in 8 bits, in not in 8 bits, in like on a lute. So if you said yes to having your chakras aligned or your chakras checked, I own a sword forged by demons from meteorite iron. I don't care if it has a ghost or can sing. So you're going to have a hard time finding demons to forge your meteorite iron, right? Demons, as far as I can tell, they're really hard to come by. So, and then, what was it? Then the next thing I have is the, I hope I'm saying this right too, Dybbuk boxes. Now, when I did my haunted doll episode, this was what everybody was all like, oh, you got to do the Dybbuk boxes next time. And I'm like, what? Why? And they're like, you got to do them. So, yeah. Oh, good. I'm back up to 1K. I was like, dropped below it for a minute there. It's showing it again now, though. Good. That was annoying me. So, we're back to 1K. All right. So, I didn't know much about these before I was requested to look into them. So, first, let me tell you a little bit about what these things are. Dybbuk boxes. It's like a wine cabinet, claimed to be haunted as part of Jewish mythology. They gained notoriety when it was auctioned. So there's like, is it like one? When auctioned by owner Kevin Manis, who created a story featuring Jewish Holocaust survivors and a paranormal claim as part of his eBay item. Manis' story was the inspiration for the 2012 horror film The Possession. In 2021, Manis told Input Magazine that the Dybbuk box story was entirely fictional. In 2003, writer and furniture refinishing business owner Kevin Manis purchased a cabinet from the yard sale of a local attorney in Portland, Oregon, and began developing a backstory. According to Manis, the carvings in the back of it is my carving. The stone that was in the box is something that is a signature creation of mine also. Make no mistake, I conceived of the Dybbuk box, the name, the term, the idea, and wrote this creative story around it to post on eBay. Manis's auction description included a story claiming the cabinet was previously owned by a survivor of the Holocaust in Poland who said it contained the malicious spirit of a Dybbuk, and that the box had paranormal powers and was responsible for his bad luck and nightmares. Subsequently, owners retold Manis's story when reselling the item and amplified it with their own claims of strange phenomenon. One owner, James Haxton, director of the Museum of Osteopathic Medicine in Kirksville, Missouri, which is like, that's just like 50 miles from me, right? And that's not far from where I am. Launched a website that consolidated claims about the cabinet called dybbukbox.com that reportedly received hundreds of thousands of hits and created what has been described as internet legend. In 2004, Haxton sold the rights to the story to a Hollywood production company. The subsequent film, The Possession, by Sam Raimi, who is an awesome director, was released in 2012. Haxton later gave the cabinet to Ghost Adventures star Zach Bagans to display in his museum. In 2018, rapper Post Malone claimed his spate of bad luck was caused by his contact with the cabinet. So there's like one famous one that's supposed to be the Dybbuk box, right? And then these people are trying to like emulate that sense of ooh, spooky with their boxes and their own backstories. But obviously they're not going to match this original narrative. But I am kind of interested in this website for the Dybbuk box. So let's go look at that real quick because I'm sort of curious about what sort of content we will probably find there, and then we'll just do like a rapid fire through the rest of what we have here and wrap up Cryptic Corner for this morning. All right, so there's the die box, home story. So the story is the first person going to be Manus. Yep, so it starts off with that and kind of works its way down. They put in some links to books about Jewish mythology to try to add some flavor to it. Acacia Ark in progress. Oh, they're going to make a Ark of the Covenant too? Is that the plan? So they got some pictures of spiders. It's not mold, though. It says white mold coating. This is, it's not a cordyceps either. This is a different beast. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, though, but yeah, it turns your house spiders into ghost. It's an infection that they get. It's not a mold that covers them, though. Click to view auction. Do you want to view the auction, guys? Now let's get back. Let's go back to eBay. Yeah, we're gonna close that out. All right. So stones, of course, you get haunted African, voodoo heads, and different magic rocks and stuff. Look at that, a crystal tomahawk thing. Ceremonial axe. Interesting. Ceremonial axe. I've heard ceremonial daggers, ceremonial swords, ceremonial knives, ceremonial athame, but never a ceremonial axe. What are you cutting ceremonial wood? Oh, and then clowns. Peter the Haunted Clown. Dark black entity attached, present and audible. Is it audible in a way that we're going to be able to hear videos of it speaking? Do you have a video? Tell me you have a video of this guy. Nope. His name's Peter, though. That should be creepy enough. Peter the Clown. Peter the Haunted Clown is 13 inches in length. He is made of hardened non-porcelain material and polyester fabric. Peter, his legs and arms can bend, but be careful standing him. An unknown force likes to knock him over. It's called gravity. It's not an unknown force. This happened several times when I was monitoring EMF readings. Peter emits random and high fluctuating electromagnetic frequency, probably because he has an iron core, probably wire running through him to help him stand up. There's got to be something solid underneath there to make him standable and posable. Let me see, does it have pictures of him standing? It does. So yeah, and he's probably got wireframe. Okay, so that's going to explain why you're picking up some electromagnetic frequency. When I or any of my paranormal friends attempt to communicate with him, these frequency disturbances become very obvious and apparent. Strange noises, such as a low humming sound, a strange knocking on the walls, have been previously prevalent in this strange entity's vessel. Although Peter appears to be a happy clown, the original owner and many others, including myself, have witnessed a dark black entity in the house. All have reported that when Peter is out of the house, the entity is completely gone. So, tall black entity is attached to this clown. It's probably that shadow behind him. Shadow is awful deep, too. Look at that. Shadows are weird. This mask caught my eye, and it's on sale. So if you guys are wanting to get me something for my birthday, no, not really, $700 for this thing. Black possessed, creepy, scary, spooky spirit Spooky, scary skeletons. Dun, 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 dun. Is there a video for this? Ooh, through the eyes. Creepy. It's got the mouth looks like it's perfect to still perform basic mouth functions. So, yeah. You can still eat and stick stuff in there. I've been about three people terrified of clowns, all women now that I think about it. Clowns, from when I was a child, clowns creeped me out, but it was strictly and specifically because of Stephen King's It, the 90s miniseries. It made me, when I was a child, very scared of clowns and scared of sewers too, like irrationally. I grew out of it by the time I was a teenager, but when I was little, I would like avoid the cul-de-sacs and stuff because I was afraid that clowns. You're down with the clown. Godseed, are you a juggalo? My ex-wife's a juggalo. Actually, she came into, my first wife, Ian's mom, came into one of my streams. Yeah, so if you see her name's Christy Cox on here. You can say hi to her. She's been out of my life for a long time, but we're trying to catch back up. So it's pretty cool. It's nice to be able to get back in touch with people who have been out of your life for a long, long time. Let's see what the story is with this guy, though. So it looks like almost like a gimp suit mask in a way. My name is Benjamin, and I am the owner of a haunted doll museum. This is not a doll, though. Purchased and rehomed dolls. Here we go. This is where it starts talking about this one. This mask has a strong male spirit attached to it. New and odd things started happening immediately after this mask was brought into our home. So if you have a whole bunch of haunted dolls and stuff in your home because you're a haunted doll seller, and you bring a new doll home, how do you know the new doll is not what's causing it? Or maybe the old spirits that are already in your house are stimulated by the new presence. What kind of experimentation do you do to confirm that whatever paranormal activity that is manifesting is subject to this mask and not one of the other many dolls in your house that you are in your shop, which is, I guess, presumably right out of your home, since you said you took this mask into your home. How do you correlate the activity to the mask, as opposed to maybe one of the other items in your collection? So, in other words, how do you know which items are causing which phenomena when you have a surplus of them in your environment? It keeps referring to it as a doll. It's not a doll, it's a mask. The same thing with us. Yes, it was scary, but very interesting. The man will communicate with spirit boards or spirit boxes, as well as make various noises. I'm going to buy this mask and make all the boys that come over wear it. Say, here, put this mask on. I don't want to look at your face. I want to see this creepy, hollow-eyed. I don't know. Try to match what it reminds me of. There's something. Hey, Tux TV, I see you out there. I heard you're going to be debating Judeo-Christian. Good luck with that. That's Hey, Stephanie Helms, good to see ya. Good to see ya. Okay, so that's this creepy mask. This was my favorite thing that I found so far, so I'm really fond of this mask. It's creepy. All right, so, and then of course, I went out and looked up some haunted mirrors too, because originally this was what I was going to do the whole show about, but haunted mirrors, so there's in the paranormal section, there's feng shui, and mirrors are a big part of feng shui, so it's overwhelmed with mirror, and I don't have any problem with feng shui. I don't at all. If you feel like it makes your environment more enjoyable, then you go right ahead. Oh my gosh, this is freaking amazing. Look at that. Oh, let's enlarge that. Look at this killer Ouija board with it's a mirror. Oh, I thought it was etched. It looks like these might be on the surface of it, which is not as cool. Is it etched or is it? I am a fan of this Ouija board. Is it a coffee table Ouija board? Oh no, it comes off. I wish it was a coffee table Ouija board. I'd love to have that in my living room. People would freak out, especially fundy people. Coming to my house, like, play with, because I don't believe in any of this stuff, of course. You all know that. I'm hard-nosed skeptic, but I do enjoy it. Oh my gosh, I didn't even... Okay, so give me just a minute. Before I wrap up Cryptic Corner, there is something I wanted to talk about. Just a second here, okay? You might hear some crash in the back. I'm going to yoink this out. But first thing is first, I'm going to make myself full screen so you guys can see me. I'll be right back. Ooh. This might be too big. I don't know to see on the screen, but I found this. I found this freaking creepy looking trunk on the side of the road. Opened it up. Ugh. So when I was carrying it, I was like, ooh, that's creepy. I'm going to make some TikToks about that or something. So I opened it up, right? And inside there's a guitar pick. So I played music for years. I was like a working musician, but I don't really play as much as I used to anymore. So I gave it to Ian. And he was reluctant to take it because he's a little superstitious. But he did take it. He's got it's a real flimsy guitar pick. So nothing spooky has happened yet. Disappointed. I didn't even mention the trunk for about a week and just left it in my room. And I was hoping something would call out and like strangle me in the night or something. Some kind of phenomena, but nothing. Absolutely nothing. No creatures crawling across my ceiling. That would have been cool. No like weird lights coming from the trunk. That would have been freaking awesome. No voices. No disembodied voices. Yeah, I am your princess bride, baby. This is called a peasant top. It's actually what it's called. So yeah, you gotta say as you wish when I say something, please. Oh, anyway. What's going on? Who is Ratsa? Who are we talking about here? Do I have trouble in my... Oh, curse. We're talking about curses. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, sorry I had to get caught up with the chat. I was over there grabbing my trunk. So, nothing has come out of my trunk. I am disappointed that like everybody else on TikTok, everybody else on YouTube, everybody else on all the different social media platforms, find a creepy trunk on the side of the road, like just on the side of the road, trunk. They take it home, and then things start being spooky. We did a whole, remember Time to Wait, guys. We did Time to Wait just a couple months ago. No, that was on Halloween. We did Time to Wait on Halloween. It was like a 3-hour expedition into this woman's experience, doing exactly what I did, finding a trunk. She found hers in like her landlord's shed, but I found mine on the side of the road, whatever. But I did not get any paranormal activity. I did not get any poltergeist. I did not get any hauntings. Bill! I did everything right. Everything right. No ghost for Bree. No haunted mirrors. My mirrors are regular. They don't get haunted. I don't get ghosted in my mirrors. There's no thumps in the night. No dragging chains. No ghostly apparitions appearing in my hallway. No dark figures lurking outside my window with glowing red eyes. I don't get that stuff. Those things never happened to Bree. I spent years doing paranormal investigation. Nothing ever happened when I was in the room. Ever. Disappointed. All right. But that today, yeah, that's what we did. We did metaphysical, haunted, alien, cursed, bewitched, and of course, the good old-fashioned demonic items of eBay on sale in their metaphysical section. I really do hope that you enjoyed this installment of Cryptic Corner. This is not a regular kind of type of content here, so if you liked this, please let us know in the comments below, because we can do more content like this. If you'd rather get us get back to debunking videos and photos and audio and stuff like that, that's fine. Just let me know. We can make it happen. But if you like doing some paranormal shopping, we can hone in on specific categories here. We can also go over to Etsy and see what they have going on as far as paranormal stuff, because that's another place where people put their own spin on things like eBay. Less so on Amazon. So we wouldn't be able to do too much paranormal shopping on Amazon. Not that we couldn't, but there's just less variety. All right, so for everybody sitting with me tonight on Cryptic Corner, thank you so much. Please remember to be kind and take care, and we'll see you next time. All right, and for everybody watching this live from the Hive, thank you so much for sticking in here with me. Much love from the Hive. I appreciate everybody for hanging in. Again, let me know if, do you want to explore, we can definitely explore sex demons at some point. That sounds like, there might be something more for CreationWatch though. Which, speaking of CreationWatch, that's coming up next. So, I will see you guys over there.
So, this is one of those deities, or maybe deities that will come up an awful lot in discussions between atheists or skeptics and Christians, because there's a lot of justification for some of the more awful things, particularly in the Old Testament. That Christians will use, and Moloch or Molech will come up in that. So, of course, whenever you hear about things like the flood, or you hear about genocide, the first almost you're either going to hear hyperbole is the first word that you're going to hear, or you're going to hear the Canaanites and how awful they were. And the main thing that people go to when they talk about how awful the Canaanites were is child sacrifice, which, from a narrative standpoint, from reading through the Hebrew Bible, sure, I think that's fine. It's problematic when you think about it more historically, and so that's sort of where this discussion goes. So Molech is supposed to be the deity that you always hear about, the statue that gets heated up and the child is placed on it and sacrificed and screams, and of course these are later stories, but the problem I think that we have is looking at the data outside of the Hebrew Bible, and what does that tell us? So without going into a lot of detail here, if people are interested, should definitely
Yeah.
pick up the book, watch that video.
Yeah, that interview was great, by the way. I mean, it changed my whole view on the way that these deities are depicted. So thanks for doing that too, and kind of.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate that. I was really excited to have him on. Just as a side note, Francesca Stavrakopoulou has also worked on this quite a bit, so people could check her work out as well. But the tension is that you have these later. We're often, I think, referencing in modern culture, we're referencing later stories, later depictions that are discussing this phenomenon that we see in the Hebrew Bible. And so trying to get back at what was the reality, like on the ground, is more difficult. So we do seem to have evidence from further west, that there was child sacrifice going on. We don't really have any from the coast, from the Phoenician coast. We don't really have much, if anything, from Canaan proper about child sacrifice. We just have, not that means we didn't have it. They didn't have it going on, but looking at, is this an actual deity? This is the one of the things that he was trying to address. Mm-hmm. Was this an actual deity? And I think the complicating factor is that the way that the word is written, MLK, Mem Lamed Kaf, and the preposition that's used in front of it in the Hebrew, it's very likely that this is a particular type of sacrifice. So as an MLK sacrifice, like a whole burnt offering is another type of sacrifice, or a peace offering or whatever.
Do you think
this is another?
Sorry, do you think this interpretation it came from when they translated the Old Testament to Greek? Is that when this meaning was lost? Is that where we're looking at, or would it be older than that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, part of the problem, of course, is that the Hebrew Bible didn't originally have vowels. So, trying to come at a consonantal text and assign meaning to it is more complicated when you don't have vowels. So the Masoretes, the people that later copied the text, the Masoretic text that we have, they put all this vocalization system in. But I think that I'm more persuaded by it being a type of sacrifice. What's interesting, as opposed to a deity, what's interesting about it is that and I think that most people balk at, perhaps, is that you have Yahweh receiving these child sacrifices. Yeah. And you get sort of hints of it in the Hebrew Bible, the story of Jephthah, for example. And the fact that they're efficacious is also interesting. So you have a foreign deity in the Hebrew Bible that offers his oldest son as a sacrifice, and it works. That's what's crazy about it. Like, it works. Power goes out, from the city and just, repels Israel.
So validates I hear what you're saying there. Yeah, which is weird to see something like that in the Bible.
Yeah, there are certain things that I think make the Hebrew Bible a lot of fun to study, because you have things where clearly, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, sorry, but you're clearly fine. Later editors are reworking things to try to get their own ideas in, or to sort of streamline, not streamline, but move the text in a direction they want it to go. But they, because of their convictions, whatever their practices are about maintaining things in the text, they also leave behind sort of traces. So I think Deuteronomy 32, for example, just sort of thinking about deities here, is an interesting example of this, because that's where it talks about El and Yahweh, and like the dividing up of the nations. And I think that in its canonical form, like its final form that we have, actually, I think the text is trying to equate Yahweh with Ale, right? But the point is, Mark Smith makes a really good argument about this. It's indicating that before there wasn't this, connection made between Yahweh and Ale, and that these two distinct deities, which of course is what we would expect. And I know we're going to talk about Ale a little bit, but yeah, I have no idea how I got to where I just was, actually, from where we started. So you guys might have to draw me back in.
Hello, and welcome to CreationWatch, where we look at some crazy concepts for the creation of the universe, whether that's a flat Earth model or a young Earth model or anything that deviates from the normal. We're still going to get around to the Project Thunderbolt stuff, but that's not today because there's something more important that I wanted to talk about. Today's episode of CreationWatch is probably not going to be as fun as they usually are, because I'm talking about a serious subject here. And I hate to bring that mood down on my celebration stream, because for those of you not watching this live, watching this on Wednesday night, thank you for joining in. This is the 1,000 subscriber celebration stream, but the topic I'm discussing today is important. I don't usually, it's not necessarily, I shouldn't say that, it is political. But it's important, and it's to do with the topic of the show, because the person who directed me to this organization was none other than Dr. Dino himself, Mr. Kent Hovind. So, without any further delay, let me introduce you to a organization that I'll let you guys be the judge of what their motivation is and how we feel about them as we dig into the wall builders. They have a website that we can explore, and we're going to look into all this stuff, but it looks innocent enough. Here, let me read it to you. The Wall Builders is an organization dedicated to presenting America's forgotten history and heroes, with an emphasis on the moral, religious, and constitutional foundation on which America was built. A foundation which, in recent years, has been seriously attacked and undermined, in accord with what was so accurately stated by George Washington. We believe that the this is a propitious. We believe the propitious smiles of heaven can never be expected on a nation which disregards the internal rule of order and right which heaven itself has ordained. Very flowery language from George Washington. As we know here in the Hive, you guys know George Washington, right? Not a big fan of religion. I do have some fun George Washington quotes, but I don't think I'm going to need them for this. I think we can just attack this at the core. I don't even think I'm going to have to bring up individual founding fathers. The only thing I would really need to mention is just the Jeffersonian Bible, and then we can move forward. Yeah, they have a YouTube channel too, by the way. Wall Builders, just Wall Builders. And they give their description as pretty straightforward, emphasis on our moral, religious, and constitutional foundations. And that gives a link back to the website. They're still active too. I mean, they're fairly active. They're doing stuff within the last few weeks. I mean, they're not like super active, but there's a video by these guys that we are going to watch right here. Time to prepare for the truth. But we're going to explore their website first, if that's okay. So stick around, and we're going to find out what this organization's all about. All right. Why the name Wall Builders? In the Old Testament, book of Nehemiah, the nation of Israel rallied together in a grassroots movement to help rebuild the walls of Jerusalem and thus restore stability, safety, and a promising future to the great city. We have chosen this historical concept of rebuilding the walls to represent allegorically the call for citizens' involvement in rebuilding our nation's foundation, as Psalms 11:3 reminds us. If the foundations be destroyed, what shall the righteous do? Here we go. Our goal. Wall Builders' goal is to exert a direct positive influence in government, education, and family by educating the nation concerning the godly foundation of our country. Providing information to federal, state, and local officials as they develop public policies which reflect biblical values and encourage Christians to be involved in the civic arena. Do we get where we're going? We built the wall. It was between church and state, motherfucker. Yeah. So this is just this is an organization. They talk about building a wall. Instead, what they want to do is tear down the wall between church and state and build a wall around them together so that they can't even be distinguished from one another. That's the goal, right? In the first part of this goal, we develop materials to educate the public concerning the periods in our country's history when its laws and policies were firmly rooted in biblical principles. As George Washington indicated in his famous farewell address, previous generations believed such elements were inseparable from America. So there are things in our laws that had some biblical roots, including like slavery and stuff, right? So we had to amend that because they're like, there's Christians that using they're saying, hey, my Bible says that I can have slaves. It's my religious right. And the founding fathers were like, yeah, okay, because it's your religious right. We want to have religious freedom. That's right there in our first. The ink's like at the very top of the page. It's right there. What do you call it? The amendment, the First Amendment. So, yeah. They said and then we had to come back in much later and say, hey, this is kind of messed up. Just because these religious people think they have divine right to own other people doesn't mean they do, and took it away from them. Pretty straightforward stuff, if you ask me. Yeah, they also enjoyed wearing slaves' teeth. Yeah, the reverence for these people, hundreds of years ago, who we're able to figure out some of this more basic stuff about society and how to make things prosperous and enriching the nation 200 some years ago are not the same people that are in their offices today. So to keep that in mind, Atheist Junior, hey babe, good to see ya. Thank you for coming in. Did you see my peasant top? Check it out. It's so cute. I'll come back up here so you can see. Look how cute my peasant top is. Me and AJ talk about style a lot. We talk about makeup and clothes and hair and all that stuff. It's awesome. The first part of this goal, we develop materials to educate the public concerning, okay, we already read that. For over 3 centuries, historians presented American history from a broad perspective built in the 1960s. Historical writers widely embraced what today is called the economic view of American history, whereby economic causes are the primary and almost singular emphasis of study. Consequently, students study only taxation without representation when they examine the Declaration of Independence rather than the important civil, governmental, and moral principles addressed in that document. I disagree. I don't know about your high school friend, but my high school, we did talk a bit about the civil government, including the slave stuff. That did come up. We did talk about that. I had a very cool history teacher. His name was Mr. Stout. And he was a great teacher, and he definitely nonpartisan on his views about things, just gave it straightforward. And he did dive into civil, governmental, and moral principles addressed in the documents about how we should treat people, and including the ones that were good and the ones that were bad, including, the owning people. And then the 3/5 compromise, we talked about that. They're trying to take that out of curriculum now. I think that's an important part of our system, to know that, hey, we used to do this messed up stuff. Let's not do it anymore. Let's not take that out of the history books. Why are they trying to rewrite history? Wall Builders returns to a historical approach long utilized by the nation's preeminent historians, as Charles Coffin, a best-selling author of school history text in the 19th century, guys, so cutting edge here, reminded teachers in his text, The Story of Liberty. You will notice that while the oppressors have carried out their plan and had things in their own way, that there were other forces silently at work at the time to undermine their plans, as if a divine hand was directing the counter plan. Whoever peruses the story of liberty without recognizing this feature will fail of fully comprehending the meaning of history. There must be meaning in history, or else existence is an incomprehensible enigma. Some philosophy circles there. It's like a tautology, but I'm not going to pick on it too much. This broad and thus much more inclusive approach to American history characterized the work of influential historians and educators from George Bancroft to Noah Webster to Emma Willard, John Fiske, and countless others. In fact, to exclude non-economic events, motivations is to present a biased view of history, as explained by the U.S. Department of Education history researcher Paul Vitz. Bias is primarily accomplished by exclusion, such as a bias is much harder to observe than a positive vilification or direct criticism, but it is in the essence of censorship. So that's what we're doing today. That's what they're doing with we can't have critical race theory in school and things like that. That's what these guys are putting out. When they're talking about building a wall, they're talking about putting that kind of stuff on the other side, like real history, like about slavery and things like that. Yeah, it's not vilifying anybody. It's just telling history like it is. They want to have this whitewashed that we've had since the 1950s. So the history that we have today that you learned in school, that I don't think anybody here went to school before the 1950s. I don't think any single person in this chat did. But before the 1950s, when you went to since the 1950s when you went to school, they gave us this whitewashed America is the best. We did everything wonderful. Columbus is a hero. Oh, they built this visage of a nation of heroes and victories and liberty and freedoms and broken chains. That's what they built their narrative on. And that's for everybody, for all our folk heroes too. American folk heroes and the way that we build the view of this nation was a lot of that was built in the 1950s, right? The idea like characters like Johnny Appleseed, even just subtle characters like that who found their way into pop culture and into American culture just as part of our all the myths and legends about George Washington, all the tethering of God into it, the supernatural aspects of America's history, the divine guidance crap. That was all added in the 1950s, right, into the lore and legend of the American nation, right? And now we're like, okay, so it's been almost 70 years since this narrative was spun. Everyone else around us, all the other countries in the world, right? They know it's bullshit. They know the real history of our country and what we did and where we are and where we come from, why we rose to prominence, where we fell. They know all that stuff. They already know. They know our real history, right? Because they don't get our whitewashed run through the Texas Board of Education versions of the 60s. Okay, sorry, 60s and 60s. 62 was the first year. And they were still building all then. So, they were still building up that idea when I was in school. It was still building. It's only been in the last couple of decades that since the millennials got into the education spaces and started to push back against saying, hey, the real history, because you do learn real history when you get to college for the most part. I did anyway, a lot of real history and stuff that I did not learn when I was in primary school. So it did pull off a lot of those blinders, but unless you pursue something that you take a class on it or something. I didn't end up pursuing anything on it. I just took a class on it, but and it was like about my state specifically that I learned all kinds of stuff. But you learn a bit that you're given a complete misrepresentation of in primary school because the education standards require that the story be told a certain way. Anyway, let's continue on. Wall Builders presents an uncensored view of America. Isn't that ironic? An uncensored view of American history, thus not only giving meaning to history, but also keeping it from becoming what Charles Coffin termed an incomprehensible enigma. I think he was talking about what you're trying to do, not what you're trying to prevent. I think that what all these authors that are talking about this history are referring to what you're trying to do right now with your indoctrination. In the second part of our goal, we believe that citizens learn the truth about our nation's past. They will be better equipped to help frame its future and to help shape the policies under which they will live. Towards the end, Wall Builders is an educational resource to those working towards improving federal, state, and local policies. This accomplished in part by providing direct assistance to our elected and appointed officials. This assistance takes several forms, including consulting with both legislators and judges at their request on legal and historical issues, testifying in state and federal hearings, providing research services, identifying and supporting sound legislation, and providing historical perspective to current problems. Yeah, I would love to see that, do that, but don't come in here and be like, here's the narrative that we built in the 1950s and here's why we should continue it. Don't come in there with that crap. Don't come in there and say, they added the under God to the Pledge of Allegiance and it was the best thing that we could do for our nation, when it's not true. That's when things started going downhill. When we let the Christians start getting their fingers in this big delicious pie of a country that we had to all work to build, that's when it started going downhill. And they're talking about trying to influence judges and legislators with religious ideologies, right? They're trying to influence them to push their religion onto the voters, right? Onto the population, onto the citizenry that pays them to make legislative decisions and make judicial decisions. Encouraging Christians. Thirdly, we encourage people of faith to become involved in the civic arena, whether through prayer or direct involvement, as President and Gospel Minister James A. Garfield stated. Now more than ever, the people are responsible for the character of their Congress. If that body be ignorant, reckless, or corrupt, it is because the people tolerate ignorance, recklessness, and corruption. If it be intelligent, brave, and pure, it's because the people demand these high qualities to represent them in the national legislature. If the next centennial does not find us a great nation, it will be because those who represent the enterprise, the culture, and the morality of the nation do not aid in controlling the political forces. And then they're going to do some founding father crap where they claim that the founding fathers were Wall Builders founding fathers, Wall Builders founder, sorry. Let's see, where this is actually, oh, that's their founders. I thought it was going to be about the founding fathers, because they have videos about that where they misrepresent everything. Our activities. So this is an activist group, right? This is a activist group. Let's hear what they have to say. Let's hear their message. So they got a lot of videos on here. Recently, they've been just doing these like historical figures. It looks like they did like a Black History Month thing, which is, based, whatever. That's cool to do a Black History Month thing for February and do all your people that are people of color. But they seem to be doing a lot of Black history stuff. Did a whole bunch of it, a whole series. So that's cool. Yeah, so I haven't watched any of these. I don't know how accurate they are, what kind of painted picture they make, but we're not actually going to watch that. They got some more of their stuff from a few months back talking more about their mission statement, and that's what we're going to dive into. So now that we know who these guys are and what they claim, let's watch a short video and see what they have to say. All right. Let me know if the audio is okay, because I haven't done any videos yet this morning.
Hey guys, there's a new poll out from Gallup that identified that only 20% of Americans now believe the Bible is the actual, real, truthful, honest word of God. There's many that believe it's inspired by God, but maybe it's not really literal. It's not really accurate. And now 29% of Americans think the Bible is really just fables and things made up by man. And the reason this is important is because the foundation of our nation was built on this notion that the word of God was true, that it gave us the principles to know how to live life. And this is why historically.
So here's the problem right here, right at the very beginning, 30 seconds in. You have to understand that your interpretation of the Bible and what's literal and what's poetic language is not the same as somebody else's. You might believe one thing. Kent Hovind might believe another. The Alpha Centauri and the Catholic might believe another. Ocean Keltoy the pagan might believe another, about the validity of the narrative of the Bible. It's going to all depend on your perspective on it, right? So some of the stuff in the Bible is absolutely true. Some of the stuff that's in the Bible is absolutely true. It's factual. It checks out. Check mark. Well, we're getting into the Spider-Man New York City analogy. So, yeah. So what are you talking about with, there's nobody denying that there's true things in the Bible.
When you go back to the founding fathers and you see who they were and what they did, they worked to build their states, their colonies, even the nation on the principles of the Word of God.
I have been going super fast or something.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. Well, where do they learn those truths? From the Word of God, because they believe the Bible gave us truth. It's a challenge for us as a nation when we're in the place that we have so many people that now doubt the Bible is actually true.
Yeah, it's a problem for a lot of reasons, because the Bible gives guidance in every area. And when you start questioning the Bible and its validity, there go economic principles. The principles the Bible teaches about staying out of debt and making profit and all the things that go with the free market, that can be set aside. All the moral precepts, and we're certainly...
So I don't know if the Bible has anything to say about the free market. What does the Bible say about capitalism, guys? I don't think capitalism was around. Was it laissez-faire didn't start until... When did laissez-faire capitalism begin? I know Godseed knows. You follow economic stuff. But when did that begin? When did capitalism? I mean, I'm not trying to pin down one person. I have this actually. It's proven by the algorithm that I have the smartest live chat on YouTube, like hands down. The smartest.
See that with what's going on in schools now, what's being taught in schools, not being taught. So there's so many areas that this affects. When you reject the Word of God, you move off your form of government. We no longer need to have a Republican form of government where we choose our elected leaders out of Exodus. Well, let's not do that.
Why is that a republic form of government? I don't understand. So republic means like there's districts that have representation that are present in the legislative process, right? Everybody has representation from their district of the republic. It's a group of regional representation that work together for an overall nation. That's a republic with that representation. The democracy of it all is where we choose, where the people choose. So that's the democracy. So that's why when I get so confused when people are like, the U.S. is a republic, not a democracy. Nothing is a democracy per se, because, I mean, I guess if you had a might makes right kind of legislative system, that might be something that would be considered pure democracy, right? With the way there's just the majority rules kind of situation. But in a representative democracy, which is why we're a republic, we each choose people to represent us in cinema. I don't know why I'm explaining basic civics. I was not even good at civics, and this is basic stuff. I'm like a science nerd, but this is freaking basic.
Yeah, this affects every single thing. And the problem that we're seeing with this polling is we're also seeing a lot of other pollings at the same time that indicate a change in the way Americans view the Bible. I mean, we see right now only 9% of Christians read the Bible on a daily basis. And if we believe what Jesus said, that...
Yeah, but like most atheists have, so most of my demographic have read the Bible. Most of us have read more than one Bible, among other holy books. I mean, I shouldn't say most of us. I have, and I know the majority of the people I interact with have, because we can go back and forth about discrepancies between different versions and things like that. I mean, I'm not a scholar. I just like mythology. I spent a good deal of my youth like I said, I was ghost hunting and stuff when I was younger. I was also reading, when I wasn't out ghost hunting, I was at home reading. I read the Quran. I read the King James Bible. I read like this thing there used to be this really cool system that would translate the Vulgate for you too, but and it made it seem so weird.
That His Word is our food, and that we should partake of His Word like we partake of food. If most of us only ate physical food as often as we ate spiritual food, we would all have died from starvation long ago. We need to get into God's Word, and that will make so much else work well in the nation. So there's a real problem not only with this most recent poll, but it's just confirming what we're seeing elsewhere. And there's got to...
Yeah, we want you guys to leave our kids alone. That's mainly the thing. Just leave our kids alone. Keep it out of our school. Keep it out of our government, so it doesn't affect your religious beliefs, including things about gender, about sexuality, things like that, about abortion, about bodily autonomy, all that shit. Keep it out of our government. We'll be cool. But what you're trying to do is actually the opposite of that. That's the problem. This is where I have to push back. That's why I'm doing... Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the desk. That's why I'm doing this straight.
Whenever we return to loving God's Word, and I was kind of thinking about this as I saw the poll, and I'm just thinking about vaccinations. We were studying some founding fathers, some smallpox vaccination, et cetera. And the way a vaccination works is you get a little bit of it so that you're inoculated against all of it. And it seems like Americans have a little bit of religion, which is inoculated. There's been a vaccination about getting much religion. We have a little bit of knowledge of God's Word, and that's all we need. We don't need to know anything else. And so now we're really rejecting. It's like we've been vaccinated against Christianity and the Bible.
This idea that, I've heard about Jesus.
Yeah, because it's a social contagion that makes you hate other people who are different than you or don't identify as part of your group. That's why we need to be vaccinated against it. That's why exposure to other culture and the allowance of other culture in your presence, that's why your religion is dying, homie. This is a free country where people can come in and interact together and express their beliefs together, and people can actually look into what you're claiming is true and compare it to what other people are claiming is true, and yours never holds up.
So I'm good, right? I don't need more. I know enough. And that really is what we've seen. And when we go back to the founding era, and for many of you who are watching and listening, we have a very large collection of original documents from the founding era. And much of that collection centers around the religious faith of America. And when we say religious faith, we don't mean it in some kind of pharisaical sense of religion. We mean it in the principles of Christianity. With the founding fathers, when they talked about religion and morality being the indispensable supports of our political prosperity, which that's George Washington's farewell address for those who might be curious.
And by the way, adding to that, I was just working on his farewell address this last week. And his warnings on keeping religion and morality the heart of the nation, the base of the nation. If you try to take it out, you're not a patriot because you're trying to destroy the nation.
Okay. God damn it. I scanned this video. I did not know that they were going to start quote mining George Washington. For fuck's sake. George Washington had a lot of stuff to say about Christianity. None of it that I've heard was good. I think George Washington was a deist, but sorry, I got annoyed at this. I thought I was going to be able to avoid going directly into individuals, but they're not going to let me. George Washington has divines constantly about him because he thinks it right to keep up appearance, but is an unbeliever. Yeah. See, if I would have known this, I would have pulled these quotes. God dang it. Anyway, I'm just gonna.
That's about 1/4 of the warnings in his farewell address. And I was looking at modern reviews of the farewell address, and none of them mentioned religion and morality, which was his big deal. I mean, he said that's the foundation. They're talking about, don't have partisanship and avoid foreign entanglements and stay out of debt. But they left out the religion and morality, and that is the heart of it.
Well, and by saying none of them do, I mean, others do. We're going to point that out. So maybe there's one or two, right? There might be an exception, but the reality is the academic world doesn't acknowledge this religion and morality component as being necessary to the foundation of America.
I saw none of the reviews I studied this last week had any mention of it, and they're the school reviews. They're the academic reviews. That's what kids are getting taught.
And to go even further, this is where you have John Adams saying that our Constitution, the basis of our nation, it was...
Okay, so George Washington was an Anglican. Okay, so not a deist. I was wrong there. Absolutely. I admit when I'm wrong about something. Okay, George Washington was an Anglican, but he was against the union of church and state. He did not... he didn't want that to be something that would become the same type of issue that we had with the Church of England, right? He was an Anglican though, so keep that in mind. So the Anglican, that's the church, right? That's the church that he's thinking about. So his own denomination, he wanted to make sure that they didn't gain power. Obviously, in his private writings, there were at least rejections of organized religion, as a tool of the masses. Let's see the quotes. Making people pay towards the support of religion which they profess, but felt that it was impolitic to pass such measures and wish it never had been proposed, believing that it would disturb public tranquility. Yeah. Okay, so
made only for a moral and a religious people. And today we can look back and go, okay, the founding fathers promoted religion, but they weren't really like Christians. They were atheists or agnostics or deists. These are the arguments we hear today, that right? They were more shaped.
How would they say they promoted religion, but they weren't Christian? They were atheists. Who would say they were atheists if they were promoting religion? Most atheists don't promote religion. I'm not saying it's impossible, but so within the body of the founding fathers, there were deists, atheist Christians. Yeah, there were, sure. And they all, individually as people, were influenced by their personal beliefs about things. And that cannot be separated from their religious beliefs about things. So they did, in the founding of it, have a melting pot of different ideas that were not all religious. Even the ones like George Washington, you wouldn't call him religious, especially not in his later life. But and some of his writings kind of defy it as well. It was a public display, I think.
By the Enlightenment and secular thinking. And this is the argument we hear. What we point out is you should go back and read their...
Now, Enlightenment did have a big part in... Because that's where, liberty and all that comes from. The notions of liberty... So civic stuff, right? That came from the Enlightenment era of things. Yeah, but evoke some of the if you want to say they used the theistic ideology, the closest thing you get is to say that, they used the language of theology, like God-given rights and things like that. Just, it was the language of the time. Just Godspeed is still an expression used today. It doesn't mean that the person saying it is they wish that God will speed your journey
original
along.
Writings. Because when you read their original writings, you realize that they actually were saying things much different than what we are saying about them today. And even in looking at their writings, we can talk about their letters. We can go through their volumes of writings, which we'll do some of that in just a minute. But also you can look at things that they promoted and encouraged in their states, in the nation. And certainly the vast majority of founding fathers came out very openly in favor of the Bible, worked actually many of them for Bible societies, starting those in their states and their colonies, promoting those in the nation. And the reason I point this out is because even in the conversation...
Yeah, because they were from European descent, and since, Constantine... everybody in Europe was, some of the countries most of the countries, they were forced to be Christians. And some of those laws have been in place for hundreds of years, right? So, obviously when they come over and bring their religion with them, the influence of that religion is going to be present. That does include, like we were saying up here, that includes things like rape and slavery and, women specifically as property and things like that. I mean, women couldn't vote until, the 20th century. So, they're talking about stuff that was decided in the, in the 18th century. So, 200 some years later, before the idea that women were people was allowed into this, because they used your book for some of the basic things in it, for some of the basic moral guidance. There were problems with it. We fixed it. They used your book to justify owning people and keeping them as property. We fixed that too. What's your point?
Conversation of religion and morality, they were not generic when they were saying religion. They were talking about Christianity very explicitly, very directly, and specifically, not just Christianity, but Christianity as revealed by the Word of God, by the Bible, because they did believe that to be what was truth, and where you determined and discovered truth by and large. And so we can go back and look at different Bibles from founding fathers. This large one on the bottom is one that John Witherspoon is largely responsible for. John Witherspoon was a signer of the Declaration. He actually was a pastor from Scotland. He was recruited to come to America by people like James Wilson and Benjamin Rush.
I don't disagree that there were Christians among the founding fathers, but these were just like rich dudes a long time ago. The same kind of rich dudes we have now making decisions. Yeah, they did some good stuff. There were some good people among them with some good ideas. This was the accumulation of a melting pot of ideas that sprang forth from the volcano that is the Enlightenment era.
Different other founding fathers who said, we need a minister to come and be the president of Princeton University. So he came to America to be the president of Princeton, an actual pastor at Princeton, and he was a pastor at the time he actually signed the Declaration. He was in New Jersey, that's where Princeton is, and in New Jersey, he was considered the one responsible for this large Bible, thought to be the first family Bible in America, a Bible large enough that your family could sit at the dinner table or the lunch or breakfast table, whatever you call your table, but the family could sit together and they could read through the Bible together. He even wrote an introduction in the front of this, helping Americans know what the Bible was all about. You have...
Well, before you go further than that, just what is...
So, I don't really care about this Bible, though. Neat. First Family Bible or whatever. That's a historical book. Cool. Dude wrote some handwritten stuff in there. Neat. Also. What does this have to do with the foundation of our country, though? The guy had a Bible. We've been putting our hands on a freaking Bible in the judicial system since the very beginning. This isn't a surprise to us that some of the ickier aspects of our nation's founding were based in your book there, pal.
Spin for a minute. And Witherspoon trained about 1/3 of the founding fathers. So this is his thinking. This is what he's imparting into those students that were in his classes before they became founding fathers. But also talking earlier about how the Bible shapes everything you do. It's interesting that minister is considered the single man most responsible for the economic policies of the U.S. Constitution. Now, economics, where would he have gotten that? Right there. How well has it worked? Well, we're the most...
What from our economic system comes from the Bible? What the heck are you even talking about? And what from our economic system comes from the Bible that other nations don't have in their economic system and therefore don't prosper like we do? And why are we not prospering now economically?
Prosperous nation in the history of the world. We're the longest ongoing constitutional republic. I think he had an impact, and that came out of the Bible.
Well, and this is also worth noting that he was promoting the principles of the free market before Adam Smith had written his book, Wealth of Nations. So literally, we can point to founding fathers promoting those principles that they are actually citing the Bible as the indication for those principles came from, again, before Adam Smith did Wealth of Nations. And this is stuff, when you go back and study their...
Where is this cited at? You're making an inference because this guy signed this document. Which documents did he pick and what Bible verses was he basing his economic foundation on? I want to think that if he was doing economics, that the Bible probably had very little to do with anything that he was putting into place. What guidance do you get from the Bible on how to run a country?
Writings and who they were and what they did. Again, the tone is very different. And again, big picture, the reason this matters is as we have an...
Other than using language like God-given right to this and God-given right to that. And yeah, using that fucking language. Language. These guys make me mad, though. And their message and their goal makes me mad. So I'm angry. And you guys are seeing Angry Bree. Because these freaking people are... absolutely out to try to turn our country into a theocracy. That's their goal.
American culture that now doesn't even believe the Bible might be true, the Bible might be authoritative, that the Bible is a literal word of God given to us to know how to live and direct our lives. We are removing the foundation that the founding fathers used to build this nation. We know the Bible tells us that the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do?
So funny that they were escaping biblical oppression when people fled to this country. Because the Puritans wanted their version of the Bible, and the Church of England said, nope, you're going to use our version of the Bible. And then other people had different versions of the Bible that their country didn't like. I know that there's some of the Scandinavian countries and such had some religious bouts about which book of the Bible to go with. And Yeah, and I know that when Greenland was rediscovered, when they rediscovered the colony and found it abandoned, they had worried that the that the Vikings that lived there were still going to be Catholic. I think it was funny stuff.
This is a dangerous time if we remove the foundation of the Bible, and especially as Christians, if we begin to doubt the accuracy or the truthfulness of the Bible. If we think we read the Bible and, well, that's not really what they meant, that's not really what they said, right? Well,
so you take everything in the Bible literally. Let's take that to its logical conclusions here.
I mean, I know God said he created them male and female, but we know there's more genders. When you start having ideas...
Oh God, that was Okay. The Bible doesn't say anything about genders per se. It talks about God creating two sexes, and creating a even in the biblical narrative would be a bimodal design, since the woman was made from the rib of the man. Then they would be part of a binary system because they would have more of their DNA the same than different, which is what we see, right? Scientifically speaking. I know the Bible is completely unscientific, but speaking from that, you can define that there are a bimodal system of biological sex. It doesn't speak anything to gender in the Bible. Where does it say in the Bible?
That are contrary and are contradicted by the Bible, you can just know that those ideas are incorrect, at least if you believe the Bible is true, which we certainly do, which absolutely many of the founding fathers, most every one of the founding fathers did. But if we keep going, even looking at Bibles that were produced by other founding fathers, there's a 4-volume set right here done by another one of the founding fathers.
This is done by Charles Thompson, this man right here. Now, he took the Greek Septuagint, which is the Greek translation of the Bible that was done for Jews in Greece and elsewhere that didn't read Hebrew anymore. So this translation of the Greek Septuagint in English, considered one of the most scholarly American translations of the Bible, took him 19 years to do it, but it was done by the Secretary of Congress.
And nobody uses that Bible today. Isn't that so weird? Everybody still uses the King James Bible in the U.S. or the NIV or something similar. Nobody's using that.
By the way, on the 4th of July, there's only 2 names on the Declaration of Independence, and that's John Hancock and Charles Thompson. Everybody else added their name later in August. So, I mean, he's a significant founding father.
And even looking at the individual...
So he was the first witness then. Okay.
Declaration. This is known as the Bible of the Revolution. It was the Robert Aiken Bible. He was the official printer of Congress, and he's the one who, as we're going through the Revolution, realizes that we are having a Bible shortage. He's not the only one that realized that. There was a petition to Congress in 1777. We need more Bibles in America because largely we were getting printing materials and things from overseas. It was being imported. And when the war happened, our biggest trading partner had been England at that point, and now our trade is interrupted. And so there was a petition to Congress in 1777 to...
So they're talking about early printing presses. And yeah, the Bible's was a good catalyst, a springboard for us to have our own United States printing operations and our own presses and things like that to put out news. The Bible was sure a good catalyst for that. Good on you, Bible, for being written, so people wanted to write you, wanted to have written copies of you.
Import 20,000 new Bibles to America for all of these kids that are growing up, and they need their own copy of the Bible. Congress approved that, but Congress, under the Articles of Confederation, which were drafted in 1777, they began operating under those, even though it wasn't fully ratified until 1781. Nonetheless, under the Articles of Confederation, it gave Congress no power to tax. So Congress had no money. So even though they said, hey, it's a great idea to bring in 20,000 Bibles, they had no money to do it. So we were having a Bible shortage. In 1781, Robert Aiken went to Congress and said, guys, we don't have enough Bibles. And up to that point, we were not allowed to print Bibles in the English language in America because to print Bibles, you had to have an official Anglican printing license by the king to print any religious material, including Bible.
So, and I guess he's going to skirt around the idea that, the Bible was one of the first books printed in the U.S. and it was used for literacy purposes, to teach people to read. Just because it was a popular book that was, well known, and you could have somebody sit there and practice reading it and not have to look at the pages to know if they were reading it correctly. So it was good. It was a good tool. It was. We have more books now. We don't need to use the Bible for that anymore. It was a great teaching tool, sure. to teach people how to read.
Bibles, and the king would not allow any American printer to have an Anglican license to print religious material or Bibles. So Congress said, you know what, yeah, we're kind of separate from the king now. So Congress actually gave permission to Robert Aiken to do this, and then in the front of this Bible, Congress not only presents their approval to Robert Aiken, but Congress then gives an endorsement.
Yeah, the Articles of Confederation didn't work. That is why we wrote the Constitution. Thank you, Ring. Exactly.
Every American to get a copy of the Bible and read the Bible. And this is only kind of the beginning of the growth and expansion of Bibles in America, because you have Bible societies that are opening up. This is from a Bible society. You have other founding fathers doing things. These are two Bibles. Or actually, we can go to that one next.
Personal Bibles, the one you have, those are the personal Bibles of Frank.
I get that these people had Bibles. I don't know why this is prepare for the truth. It was just the hidden truth that people back in the Declaration of Independence time, or not the Declaration of Independence time, sorry, the signing of the Constitution, all had Bibles. It doesn't surprise me one bit.
Francis Hopkinson right here. He's a signer of the Declaration. He was appointed one of the very first federal judges by George Washington. He's the guy who actually designed the great seal that we have on our dollar bills, etc. This is a personal Bible of John Dickinson over here, who went on to...
So he's the one who put all the Masonic imagery on our money. That's the guy. He's the head of the Masons.
Signed the Constitution, became a governor of Pennsylvania, governor of Delaware. He was a general in the Revolution. I mean, we've got their individual Bibles. We've got their collective Bibles that were put out across the nation. These guys really wanted the Word of God out there. And even if you take someone like Thomas Jefferson, we have a large Bible over here that about 21 founding fathers helped finance that Bible. It's the largest Bible done in America to that point. It's called the John Thompson Hot Press Bible. And Jefferson was one of the guys who helped fund that. But Jefferson becomes the first President of the United States to have a full term in Washington, D.C. Prior to that, we were in New York City, we were in Philadelphia, we were other places.
He also has his own Bible, but you won't talk about that.
But he's the first president of Washington, D.C., and he's the guy who authors the plan of education for Washington, D.C. public schools. And Thomas Jefferson puts the Bible in as the primary reading text in Washington, D.C. public schools. This is the way they thought. This is what they knew.
Right, because again, at the time that this was written, in primary school, the Bible was a primary reading source. It was like required reading just in the school system because of the spread and indoctrination of Christianity, but also again because it was a common book it was one of the most common books at the time in the world. It's always been one of the most common books in the world. It's always one of the first books to get printed. When a new press is set up in a new country too, in Australia, in the U.S., South America, anywhere they get a new press system set up, one of the first things that they start doing is printing Bibles, generally in their native languages. Now, just because they did that does not mean that they were saying, hey, Christianity should be taught in school. It was just this is a book that we all read. So here you go. Here's a ancient book that goes way back. So read up.
Everyone needed, including kids in Washington, D.C. public schools, and that's put in by one of the guys that most academics consider to be one of the least religious founding fathers. Even he wanted the Bible as the basis of education.
And along those lines, you have people like Dr. Benjamin Rush, another signer of the Declaration, and he actually served under 3 different presidents. He served under John Adams, and then Thomas Jefferson, and James Madison. And at this point, there was no Department of Education in America, and so education was really left to the individual states to figure out how they're going to run education. This is his book of essays, and in this book of essays, he wrote an essay called "The Defense of the Use of the Bible in Schools." I would encourage you, get online and read that, or you can go to wallbookers.com and you can get yourself a copy. In this essay, he points out that there are multiple reasons we have to teach the Bible in schools, and one of the things he says is that we will only remain a free people under our Republican system of government if we teach students the Bible. It's because it's from the Bible that we learn morals, and it's only when we are a moral and a virtuous people that we can have freedom.
Right, a religious person would say something like that. They still say stuff like that. Doesn't mean it's factual or has any foundation, right? It's not that. What other book were they going to have the people read? What other book were they going to mass produce for the children? I don't understand what your point is.
So the Bible was the foundation of freedom. But again, with this being said, this is from founding fathers who understood that the Bible gives us the principles to live life because the Bible is true. It's not just some generalized...
But they were bad. That's why we have to do amendments. We do amendments to take that junk out, to take the bad biblical stuff out. Like making people read the Bible in school and stuff. To remove that, we have to amend. We have to fix the mistakes that they made when they're writing this Bible because of the indoctrination. It's like you're missing the forest for the trees, buddy.
idea or notion. In fact, even if you look at someone like Benjamin Franklin, and these are a couple of the volumes of writings of Benjamin Franklin. We have many more in other locations as well. With that being said, Benjamin Franklin is one of the guys, when we do the signing of the Declaration of Independence, Benjamin Franklin goes back to his state of Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania comes up with their own state constitution, as all 13 colonies did once we separated from Great Britain. They had to write their new forms of government. Benjamin Franklin is the guy who helped write the new Pennsylvania state constitution. And you can look it up online. There is an oath clause in that state constitution where they're required to take an oath. And Benjamin Franklin is the one credited with having written that oath clause in this part of the Constitution. Franklin required that before anyone gets elected to state office, they're going to need to take this oath. And among the oath, they had to acknowledge that they believed that there was one God, the creator of the universe, rewarder of the good, punisher of the wicked, and that he had given the New Testament by divine inspiration so people would know how to live and govern their lives. Even Benjamin Franklin.
Right, and that's bad to do. That's why we need to change those things. It's not a good thing to force people to adhere to your religion. Why are you glorifying forced indoctrination? You would vilify that. You do. I guarantee you vilify that happening in other nations. Guarantee that you vilify the Muslim the Muslim indoctrination in Saudi Arabia or in Morocco.
Acknowledge that we have to point to the Bible as the foundation and basis for our lives. Why? Because it was given by God of divine inspiration. This was from God. It reveals truth to us. We're in a place in culture that if we remove the foundation of truth, right, we're seeing people debate male and female, right? We're debating who can give.
Nobody is debating male and female, you dumb fuck. Nobody's debating that. That's why the terms trans exist, you derpy bastard. That's why the terms trans man and trans woman exist, because it's acknowledging that your gender does not match your the sex that you were assigned at birth. ABC. It's already acknowledged. It's in the name. Trans woman. Trans woman means that my sex does not align with my gender. You totally misunderstand the argument. You're not smart.
Birth. Like, this is confusing for some people for some reason. Go back and study biology, right?
What did he say?
Male and female, right? We're debating who can give birth. Like, this is confusing for some people for some reason. Go back and study biology, right? There's your X and your Y chromosomes, and it's not real confusing. Like, there are two genders according to Scripture and according to biology.
Gender is not chromosomes. What are you talking about? Chromosomes are you defined just by chromosomes and gamete production? When you go to your doctor and you check the M box, which I'm assuming you do looking at you, and you check that M box, you are not just telling them that you have testicles and that you produce sperm. You're telling them more about yourself than that. You're telling them that things about your brain, the testosterone drives your emotions, that you may be subject to certain, or be more susceptible to certain types of cancer. There are so many things about your biology that when you check that box, that you're telling people that's going to be different than from when I check the box, right? There's going to be things about me that are different because I am a trans woman and you are a cis man. We will not have the same medical requirements. Do you understand that? So, basic biology says that your gender is more than your sex, and your sex is more than your gametes and gonads.
Biology, there are two genders, and one of them gives birth. Now, I get it. There's a big debate and discussion about people feel a different way. This is not the video to get into that. I will point out, though,
Why'd you bring it up then? Come at me. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you specifically about this topic. You seem very confused. That's the second time you brought it up in a video about old Bibles.
This is where, because we are at a place in society where we no longer have a foundation for morality, a foundation for truth.
That's not a moral question. Well, the immoral thing is when I come into your space in the public square for you to look at me and say, this person is a woman, and I'm going to address them as a woman. That's the moral thing to do. That's the right thing to do. Anything else you do is just causing undue suffering because you want to be an a-hole.
Truth and right and wrong.
Yeah.
We are seeing freedoms being eroded, and literally we are rewriting words to change the meaning of things. This is a time.
We always change the meaning of words. That's why there's new versions of dictionaries printed. That's why you don't speak ye old English.
where we have to, as individuals, go back and remember, where do our rights come from? Because there was a God, and the Founding Fathers said there's a God who gave us rights. Government's job to protect those rights. Well, where do we even learn about the rights God gave us? That's where you go back to the Bible. Where do the Founding...
Your rights don't have to come from God. They're just they're your natural rights as an organism within our society, as a member of our human species.
Fathers learned that was the Bible. We'd encourage everybody watching and listening right now. You need to spend some time in your Bible.
And you need to do it on a regular basis, too. Don't have enough Bible that you're vaccinated against it. I read it one time. Now I don't need it anymore. Now, this is something you need to get in every single day. John Quincy.
Read that Bible every day.
Adams said that he read at least an hour every day in the Bible. And this is a guy that was president, and he was all these other political offices for 70 years, public office. He said 1 hour a day, and he usually put 4 to 5 hours a day in on Sundays. So this is not something you need to do every once in a while. Jesus said, man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. You need to be fed every day out of this. So
eat that Bible. Or can you smoke it? Can we smoke the Bible instead? I'd rather smoke it. I want to grab one of those ancient Bibles in front of you and smoke it because you made me mad.
Some kind of discipline to where you say, okay, I'm going to read 5 verses a day, 10 verses a day, a chapter a day. John Quincy Adams said 4 to 5 chapters a day is what he read. But whatever it is, get some every day.
And this is where Jesus said, right, teaching the disciples to pray, you should pray, give us this day our daily bread. Well,
I want to read what Stephanie's saying here, though, real quick. It says, 2 things. The original text of the U.S. Constitution forbids using religious tests for holding office, thus reversing the qualifications referred to in the Pennsylvania Constitution. True. The First Amendment was adopted precisely because of the diversity of religious practices in various states. True. We had Quakers and Puritans and Pilgrims and all these different groups living all over the Eastern Seaboard, and they had to each had their own version of the Bible or their own interpretation of the Bible that was different from the others. So that is why. Yeah, that's why. So yeah, the Bible was the reason for our freedom of religion too. So thank you, Bible, for being so incoherent and so divisive that you gave us the ability to have freedom to not believe in you too.
Is that daily bread? It is a connection with God, a relationship with God, and especially it's spending time in God's Word. One of the things we'd encourage is that you spend time in God's Word. And if you want to see a fun connection with God's Word, we have a resource called the Founders Bible. And in the Founders Bible, we have for nearly 30 years plus, we've been collecting original writings and documents from the Founding Fathers. And in this, there are hundreds of article inserts that as you're reading through the Bible and you're in Genesis, there'll be specific verses that we have found the Founding Fathers talking about that literal specific verse.
Shopwallbuilders.com.
Impacted their thinking on certain issues, on certain topics, whether it be in the marketplace or in government or education or their raising of children. We put those quotes by those verses so that as you read the Bible, not only can you read the Bible and gain insight for yourself, but as you're reading the Bible and you're growing and learning yourself, you literally can see how these specific verses shape the Founding Fathers and specifically shape the foundation of this nation, where our nation literally was founded on the principles of the Word of God. And this is where we need people, if we're going to restore freedom and protect freedom in this nation, we need people who know the principles of the Word of God, who understood what the Founding Fathers understood. And this resource, the Founders Bible, is a really fun way that you can learn those principles once again and even see the connection of how the Founding Fathers saw the Bible. It's got their writings in it, and then we footnote every one of these writings so that we would encourage you. Don't take our word for it. Go look it up. You can go read their letters and writings, and if you read their letters and writings, what is very clear is even though the Founding Fathers...
How does this have 6K views but no comments? How does this have 6K views? That's unbelievable to me, unless they're deleting them, which wouldn't surprise me either. Yeah. So these guys are dangerous, right? They're attacking the division of church and state.
All right, guys, there's a lot going on with education right now. If you pay attention to the news at all, it seems like every single day, at least a couple times a week, we're hearing news stories from school boards or teachers, the things they're saying, the crazy things that are going on. It's as if we've forgotten the point and purpose of education. One of the things we love to do at Wall Builders is remind people of the history of who we are and where we came from as a nation. Especially fun since we know we were founded on those biblical roots and principles. Along those lines,
Nope.
This is an 1877 reprint of a 1777 New England primer. This was done in Massachusetts. John Hancock was the governor at the time. You see down here 1777. And what's so fun about this is the first grade textbook, level 1 textbook. So all students, when they start school, this is the one you start with, and it is filled with profound religious material. In fact, the very first thing students learn is there's a morning and evening prayer. So as you start off, hey, every morning say this prayer, every evening say this prayer. You go through the alphabet as you...
Right, and that was wrong to do that, right, back then. And we know that now as we move forward. Just like it was wrong to own people as property back then. Also something that your book taught. We know that's wrong now. So, yeah, let's talk about how they indoctrinated children in first grade back in the early days of our country. That'll teach us that we need to indoctrinate children now.
You go through the alphabet and then you go through words of 1 and 2 syllables. It comes to the very first picture alphabet, and it goes through, and literally these are just Bible examples using the alphabet to learn, like, hey, in Adam's fall, we sinned all. So because of Adam, we're all sinners. Literally, like, it's just Bible stuff going through. We are at a point in place today where education has gone such a different and even a secular anti-God direction. We know what we need education is more God, more Jesus, more Bible in schools.
No,
we've reprinted this new
those are the bad things.
If you go to the Wall Brothers website,
look, that book you just read talked about that about Adam being the first man. That's wrong. We shouldn't teach that in school because it's wrong. They didn't know that back then because this was before we understood evolutionary biology. But that book is wrong, homie. That's why we don't do that anymore.
You can find out more. If you want to push back and help your kids get a better education, this is a great place to start.
No, it's not. It's not a great place to start at all. It's a terrible, terrible place to start. Don't start there. If you're listening, do you hear me saying this right now? Don't start there. Start with learning, basic science and stuff, and then growing from there. That's what you need to do. All right. So that was the Wall Builders, a dangerous organization that I'm shedding some light on today because, they're working to undermine our Constitution, our republic, our democratic system, whatever you want to call it. They're working against it. We need to do all we can to fight back. These are the people trying to overturn our government. These are the folks that want to institute their theocracy. This is dangerous, and we need to be aware of it, and we need to push back against it. So, if you want to share this around, please do. Thank you for watching Creation Watch tonight. I do believe this is probably the most politically activated video that I've ever done. I don't usually do a lot of political content, but this stepped on my toes quite a bit. So, please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time. All right, and for those of you sticking around for Live from the Hive, I will see you over in HiveScience, where we have a fun paleo peek. So I'll see you guys over there. Hello and welcome to this installment of HiveScience Paleo Peak. Welcome to the second installment, I guess, of this new venture. I have decided to parse out the coverage of paleontology and put it in its own special category and add it to the rotation along with strange science and eco news. So we will be including that on the list. So be on the lookout for this show. I do want to give my love and shout out to everybody who stuck with me so far. We still have like 20 viewers that made it to the end of the show. This is the final segment, so you win. You win. Please remember, I do have the super chats available. If that's something that you want to do, just super chat me over here and I will read it. I am excited about this new installment. I do have some cool visual designs for the show when I start editing. So we will move forward on that. But it will not, as of right now, will not get its own special background. None of the HiveScience stuff has their own special backgrounds yet. So I'm probably going to work on that at some point, but for right now, this is the visual that you're going to get for anything on HiveSci, which should be okay. But moving forward, we're kind of going to try to rotate through these. So if we do a paleo peak this week, we'll probably do strange science or eco news next week. Just kind of keep it fresh. Sometimes, depending on the topic, I might do two, or depending on how much time I have, I might do two. Today we're short on time because it's already noon. Noon is generally when I try to be wrapping up. So let's move. I'm saying let's move right into it. So this is a deep peek, and I think you'll see what I mean here. These guys are taking deeper peek like a puppy dog do. Dinosaur fossils can be, for lack of a better term, rather bare bones, particularly in their delicate, easily destroyed nether regions, which can fall prey to the ravages of scavengers or an explosion or explosive release of post-mortem gas. But after working with a dinosaur specimen from the Senckenberg Natural History Museum in Germany, Jacob Winther, a paleontologist at the University of Bristol, returned and realized that its private parts were unusually well preserved. A cloaca, for those who aren't familiar, is an opening common in non-mammalian, with a few exceptions like monotremes, platypuses, and echidnas. They have a cloaca as well, with a few mammalian vertebrates that operates as a sort of a one-size-fits-all funnel for sex, pooping, urination, and reproduction. In a study published yesterday in the Journal of Current Biology, Winther and his colleagues, paleo artist Robert Nichols and University of Massachusetts Amherst biologist Diana A. Kelly, were able to three-dimensionally reconstruct describe what Winther says is the only non-avian dinosaur cloaca known to be preserved. So, do you guys like that we have the insides of a dinosaur now? This is freaking cool. Soft. You want to see some soft tissue? Let's see about how dinosaurs got it on. So now we know for a fact that dinosaurs have cloacas, right? I mean, not that there was ever any doubt based on their phylogeny, but, you know, it's confirmed now. Though it's been described this way, a cloaca is more than just a butthole, says Winther. It's the Swiss Army knife of back ends. For help with their description, Winther says the study authors looked at the wide-ranging cloaca of other land-dwelling vertebrates. Some, such as those belonging to turtles, look like a wizened, puckered grin. The cloaca of a bird, our present-day dinosaurs, looks kind of like a cyst that needs to be popped. Vinther's, they misspelled his name here. Vinther explained. While the cloaca of crocodiles is covered in distinct scales, forming a sort of raised lobe with a slit in the middle. The dinosaur owner of this particular cloaca is approximately 120 million years old. I'm going to try this name. You all can laugh about how bad I pronounce it. Psittacosaurus. Psittacosaurus. Hailing from what is now the Liaoning province of northeastern China. About the size of a Labrador, the Psittacosaurus was surprisingly cute for a dinosaur, Vinther says. The scaly skin and horns on either side of its flat ET-like face. The dinosaur's cloaca appears to have a distinct color, which could have been used to signal for mates, as is sometimes the case for birds. It has a set of lips that joint in a V shape around the bean-like dorsal and contains what appears to be a coprolite. So he or she had a dangler. Also known as fossilized poop, though the animal did not necessarily experience a dramatic mid-bowel movement death. Vinther says it could have emerged afterwards. But it could have pooped itself to death. Potentially. So here's like sort of the right lateral lip, left lateral lip. Yeah. There are some similarities to a crocodile cloaca. Co-author Diane Kelly, an expert in the evolution of copulatory systems, told the New York Times, and the study suggests that, like the crocodile, this dinosaur cloaca may have housed glands responsible for spewing out mate-attracting scents. The shape and color of this tissue that is preserved suggests that these animals might have used both odor and visual signals to interact with other members of their species, Kelly said in an email. We're only talking about one set of fossilized dinosaur primates, which limits the scope of any mating signal takeaway, the study explains. But through Vinther's notes that these revelations aren't going to cure cancer or prevent totalitarian people from entering political system, they do add a little piece to the puzzle of what it used to look like, which helps us understand why the living world looks the way it does today. Perhaps, Vinther says, there was a glorious past where dinosaurs were strutting around showing off their cloacas. One can only hope. I do. I hope so. And they want us to comment, but I bet they'll make us sign in. Yeah, I got to sign up to comment. So that was the dino cloaca that we have discovered. So now we know. If you are furry or into, what is it? Are dinosaurs scalies or furries when you're doing that? Is it scalies or furries? Is featheries a thing? So anyway, if you're in that culture, now you have a model to use for your cosplay. So if I've done anything today, I hope it was help you guys appreciate the Dinogina. And that's all I have for this morning. So please remember to be kind and to take care. And we will see you next time.
Hello and welcome. Godless Granny is about a lot of things. I talk about any issue that affects me or on which I have strong opinions. Most frequently, that's religious issues, women's issues, transgender issues, and political issues. I believe in social justice and equality for all. I feel that everyone has a right to believe what they want, but that right doesn't absolve you of criticism of your beliefs. Thus, I criticize both outlying religious ideas and mainstream ideology. I welcome theists to discuss or debate their issues with me live on stream. Contact me on Twitter if you'd like to do that. I was a Christian for 42 years. In my last decade as a believer, I became increasingly liberal, seeing that as being more consistent with biblical ideas. But eventually, the cognitive dissonance between liberal thought and certain parts of the Bible brought me to evolve my theology. I still hung on to the inerrancy of the Bible and continued to look for ways to interpret the Bible to fit reality. But when it was proven to me that the biblical flood did not happen, thank you Aaron Ra, Vice Rhino, and Pelagia, there was no longer anywhere to go. I had to let go of inerrancy. But without the Bible, my faith had no foundation, and then I left the faith. I have since met people of faith who reject inerrancy. I find this a more honest faith, but I also find it a purely human construct. Why believe in a God if you have to make up the God and what the God is all about? I now criticize the very religious beliefs that I held for decades, as I now realize that they not only do not originate from a God that loves me, but that they were dangerous in that they limited me. They limited me as a person by discouraging thought and learning. It restricted my relationships and my ability to develop myself as a person. I hope to do several things here. I hope to reach others of my generation, as we are the primary people that are still holding on to this outdated ideology. Second, I hope to reach the younger generation, imploring them not to follow in my footsteps. And third, I hope to show how the younger generation who has already left the faith can reach their parents. What arguments did I find convincing that will likely convince their parents? So come on in, let's have a chat.